I started to share that because I guarantee you that every one of us can relate to some part of that. Because I guarantee you've gone through some point in time of your life that you have just wanted to quit. Because when I thought when I graduated high school, it was going to be smooth sailing. I was going to get out of school. I was going to find me a place to live. I was going to have me a job. I was going to make some money. And I thought it was going to just be like, awesome. It wasn't. Don't get me wrong. I love my life. I love it. But it comes with struggles. And you heard this one thing that Larry kept saying over and over. When I heard him say this the other night, he said these two words over and over and over. And I hadn't talked to him. He didn't know what I was going to be preaching on today. And today's message, and the title of this is called Don't Quit. Don't quit. I want y'all to say that with me. Y'all say it. Say, don't quit. It's so important. And today is going to be a life-changing message, not from me, but from God. And I believe that He's going to absolutely speak to you. Because we all come to these points in times that we want to quit. When it gets so hard, when you feel like that you're all alone, that nobody's got your back, and that you're going through struggle after struggle after struggle, and that you can't get ahead. And so what some of you may or not know, several years ago was the toughest year that I had ever lived in my entire life. In April, I got a phone call on a Sunday. It was after church. I got a phone call on a Sunday after church, and to let me know that one of my bestest good friends had committed suicide. He'd taken his life. That he came to a point in his life that he felt there was no way out. For the next several months, I would counsel people on suicide and struggles. And then the week before Thanksgiving, we come home from church on a Sunday night. And it was on Nash Machine that my mentor, that he had taken his life. Quit. Quit. And you just heard Larry. He had excuse after excuse after excuse or reason to quit. But he didn't quit. He didn't quit. I was watching football last night and watching these games, and I watched Alabama play Arkansas. And for those of you Alabama fans, you're probably super excited. For the Arkansas fans, they should be very proud for this one thing. They did not quit. I mean, to the last second of the game, they were giving it everything that they had. There was no way they could come back and win. No way. But they were not ready to quit. They kept on going. So here's my question to you this morning. How can we go through life? How can we get our game on through life and through all the struggles, even when we want to quit? How can we not quit? The Bible is very clear on this. And He gives us an awesome picture of how you can keep on going even when you want to quit. That you can keep on going even when you feel all alone. That you can keep going and face anything that this world throws at you. Anything. If you have your Bibles, would you turn to Hebrews chapter 12? And this is going to be awesome. I love this because if I were to ask you who's ever wanted to quit, I guarantee you that we'd all raise our hands. Because I wanted to quit a lot of times. Maybe not to suicide, but maybe you've been to that point. Where you was ready to write the note, or you was ready just to give up. Or maybe through your marriage right now, man, you just been ready, like, man, I'm at my wit's end, or this relationship, I'm at my wit's end, or maybe with your job, I'm done. So my goal today is to give you these 4 challenges to help you not quit, even when everything else around you says, give up. Larry quoted a verse, his life verse. For all things work together to those who love God. I love that. I love that scripture. But sometimes you look around and you don't even see God. Have you ever been that low? And you look around and you're like, God, I don't even see you. Or how many of you came to the point in his life and you said, why, God? Why? Why me? Why now? Why all this stuff? Again, this is going to be awesome. This is Hebrews chapter 12, and these first 2 verses. He says, therefore, since we also have such a large cloud of witnesses surrounding us, let us lay aside every weight and the sin that so easily ensnares us. Let us run with endurance the race that lies before us, keeping our eyes on Jesus, the source and perfecter of our faith, for the joy that lay before him endured a cross and despised the shame, and has sat down at the right hand of God's throne. I love this. Because here's the first thing you need to understand. When you're going through struggles, when the world is telling you just to quit, when everybody around you is telling you to quit, here's the first thing you need to understand. And he says it in the very first part of that verse. Since we were surrounded with such a cloud of witnesses, that we have witnesses. Witnesses. And you're thinking, well, what in the world does witnesses have to do with me and my struggles? Well, here's this picture that the author's painting. He's painting this picture. There's an Olympics going on. And there's a stadium. And this stadium is filled with witnesses watching you live out your life, watching you run your race. And these witnesses are people that have already died and gone ahead. These are the people who've already faced your struggles that you're facing right now. With your marriage, with your kids, with your parents, with your extended family, with your job, with your bosses, with your debt. And they've already accomplished it. And they're sitting in their stand, and here's what they're doing. You can do it! As you're the one who's down on the field running your race. Running your race. Not somebody else's. Your race. Because whether you like it or not, you're in the race. It's when you want out. It's when you feel like that you have to quit. You're in the race. Now, I don't know many of you, maybe you like running. If you're one of those people that like running, then you need help. But I don't. I have to run after our girls and stuff. I'm not much of a runner. I can go up a flight of stairs and I need some exercise, true. But he said for you running, all you are runners. You're running. And here's this race and here's what you're running. And here's what's awesome about this. Is that you are foolish if you think you're the only one who's facing struggles. You are foolish if you think you're the only one who's faced marital struggles, who's faced financial struggles, who's faced depression, anxiety, all alone. You are foolish if you think you're the only one who's ever faced that. You're foolish. Because all these other people have already faced it. Now I want you to take just a second. I just want you to turn to the person next to you. Just look at them. Look at the people next to you. That person sitting next to you, they have faced struggles. Maybe not in one right this minute, but I guarantee you they went through something in their life. And I love, Jesus addresses this, and I love what he says about this. Now listen, here's what he said. He said this in John chapter 16, verse 33. Here's what Jesus said. He's going to throw it up here. I love this. He says, I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. You will have suffering in this world. Be courageous. I have conquered the world. I love that. Because he's saying you will struggle. You will. And you see that word right here that he puts on here? He says you will have. And I do not like this word suffering. I don't like that. Now I have hit my thumb with a hammer and it really hurts. But that is not suffering. That's discomfort. I'm talking about suffering. Suffering. And Jesus says, you will suffer, you will struggle, but get this, he says, but get this, be encouraged, be courageous. I have conquered the world. I love that word conquer. It's one of my favorite words in all the Bible, that we are conquerors. I love that. Conquer. I feel like some sort of emperor with a knife and shield and a belt. I feel like I can do anything. And he says this, I have conquered the world. You don't have to suffer alone. Jesus has already conquered all your struggles. Ain't that good? See, you're surrounded with a soul cloud of witnesses. It's all these other people. They've already done it. They've been there. They've done that. They got the t-shirt. And now they're saying, you can do it. Ain't that exciting? That even amongst all your struggles right now, you can do it. I don't care what it looks like. You can do it. It's tough. And he says, yeah, it is tough. So here's the next part of this. And I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome. So he's telling you that, hey, you're down here, you're running the race. He's saying, I want you to just pause just for a minute and look up in the stands. Because these people, they're cheering you on. Now those of you who play sports, and you remember how it feels? When you're down there and you're running up and down the court or you're in the field and you're looking for your little fan section. Right? I did. Cheerleader, you're looking for your fan section, you're like, there's my personal cheerleaders. She knows what I'm talking about. You got your personal cheerleaders, and they're encouraging you, saying, you can do it. And then get this next part. because it's kind of hard. Because we've got all these struggles that we're going through, and what we're doing, we're kind of carrying them on our back like a backpack. That first song that we sang today was called Lay It Down. That's the next thing you've got to do. If you want to not quit, you want to keep running your race, and you want to run it with everything that you've got, you want to live your life exactly the way God has called you to live it. Here's the next thing you need to do. You need to lay it down. Now, what in the world does it mean by lay it down? He says this in Hebrews. He says again, that first verse, he says, lay aside every weight and the sin that so easily ensnares us. And I love what he's saying here. Love what he's saying here. Now, I'm going to address all you men here. When your wife goes to the grocery store and she says, honey, I've got groceries in the car, or I've got Walmart stuff in the car, you would have, I'm assuming that you're going to have the tendency that I do, you puff out your chest, okay, I got this. And you go to the car and you grab every single stinking bag you can get, and you grab them all. You got 16 bags of groceries and all the milk and the bread. But you carefully, strategically placed it where you will not crush it. You got the bread in one hand and eggs on the other, and you got 16 bags of groceries. And here you are. You're trying to figure out, how can I shut the car door? So you either hit it with your butt or with your foot, and you're trying to shut it. And you're getting up to the front door, and you realize that somebody has shut it on you. And now you're figuring out, how can I get it? And you're there trying to turn the knob with your feet, and you're pecking on the doors, and everybody else has gone to the bathroom. And you're out here, I've got groceries! And you're carrying it all down. And there's something's going to have to happen. Either somebody's going to have to come and let you in, or you're going to have to let something down. I don't know about you, but I do not like to let something down. I feel like less than a man. I like it when somebody opens that door for me, or it's open, and I got all those bags of groceries, and I'm coming in, and we got this island there in our kitchen. And then you get ready to set everything up, only you realize that the girls have set their book bags and their pocketbooks and their stuff all over, and you're like, ugh. And finally you just go, forget it, there it is. Eggs, bread, there it is. Guys, this is what he's saying to us. That we're trying to run our race carrying 16 bags of groceries. That we're carrying all these grudges with us. We're carrying all of our past hurts. And here's what he's saying, guys. You want to run your race? You want to not quit? You got to lay it down. Give to Jesus so he can carry all your struggles. He says it like this, and this is very familiar scripture. He says this in Matthew chapter 11. It's been quoted to me so many times. He says, come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. All you, take up my yoke and learn from me, because I am gentle and humble in heart. And you will find rest for yourselves. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. I love this. Here's what Jesus is saying. You're carrying those 16 bags of groceries. You're struggling, trying to figure out how you can go through life and how you can open the door. Here's what he's saying. Give them to me. And here's what he's saying here. Give me all your 16 bags. And so we're giving, if you can picture that, giving all that to Jesus. And he says, here's mine. Like with his pinky, here's mine. Now you take mine. It's easy. You're going to find some rest. It's easy. It's easy. I love it whenever you're carrying your girls around and somebody says, you want me to give them? You're like, yes! A break! My arms are going to jello. That's what he's saying, guys. You cannot effectively run your race and go through life when you're carrying around all this weight. Some of you, this may be really hard because maybe you've struggled in your childhood. Or maybe you had a parent that wasn't there. Or maybe they was there, but maybe they shouldn't have been there. Because maybe all they did was talk down to you and discourage you instead of building you up and lifting you up. Maybe some of you have gone through a tragic divorce, and like what Larry was talking about, that you struggled, that you feared for your kids, and you fought for them. And now, you just got this hurt. You're having a little bit of trouble going through life. You're having a little bit of trouble trusting somebody. Jesus is saying, lay it down. You want to run your race? You can be free from all that hurt. Lay it down. I have overcome the world. Take up my yoke. I love that. Because see, it's a little bit easier to run your race when you're not so weighted down. When you're not so weighted down. I watched the Olympics that came on last year, and I hurt my back and I couldn't walk, so I was laying on the couch, and all I did all day long was watch the Olympics. That's all I did all day long. I know they've got Olympics for everything. It's tons of stuff you didn't even know. I mean, maybe you heard about the ping pong being on there, but there's tons of stuff. Tons of stuff. Tons of stuff. And it was awesome. And I was watching this bicycle, and they went like 800 miles. It was forever. And they was on these bicycles. And when they got done, I mean, they were kept pedaling and pedaling and pedaling. They were giving this everything that they had. And at the end of the race, somebody was there to catch them, and they just laid them down. They had exerted so much of their body strength that they actually could not move. And they were talking about their dress attire. They've got these funky, I would never wear one, but they had these funky suits that zip up and they're really tight. You see all their crevices and muscles and veins. Like I said, I would never wear one. But that is designed to be extremely light so they are not burdened down. They're free. It's almost like they're wearing nothing. And they're able to run or ride. That's what he's saying to you guys. Right now. That you can be free and just extremely light. That you can run as fast as you can. As fast as you can. So you can do this. Not quit. I guarantee that some of us got some stuff that we need to lay down this morning. Lay it down. But that's not it. That's not all. Because this next thing is what's so important. And this is what the whole key of this is. And that is that you don't quit. Larry already said this, and he didn't even know it. It's in my notes as well. The only way you will fail is if you quit. That's it. The only way that you will fail is if you quit. Because if you quit, well, you're out. But if you don't quit, you're a fighter. You're a fighter. Listen to what he says. I love this. And again, this is Hebrews chapter 11. He says, again in that verse 1, he says, let us run with endurance the race that lies before us. He's telling you, don't quit. Don't quit. Don't quit. You fight. You make a decision today that says, I am going to keep running. I am going to fight. I'm going to fight for my marriage. I'm going to fight for my job. I'm going to fight for my kid. I'm going to fight for my school. I'm going to fight for my education. I'm going to fight for my parents. I'm going to fight for my life. I am going to fight the devil every step of the way so I can live the life that God has got for me. I am a fighter. I'm not a quitter. Don't quit. And he's telling you that you have to run your race. Don't quit. Don't quit. I watched the Olympics again, like I was telling you about. I was watching these people run, and they ran those big, humongous, mile-long races. And I'd be wanting to quit after the first little turn. And these people that were running, and they were running, and they were running. And there was these people that were in the very last 5 minutes after the race is already finished. You know, the winner has already won. 5 minutes later, you know who came across the finish line? The rest of the runners. They did not quit. There was no chance for them to win that race. But they didn't quit. They finished. And guys, here's what's so important. Is that you finish. That you finish what you started. Now here, I love this. Now I'm going to share this with you, this scripture. I love this. Apostle Paul was one of the writers in the Bible, and he'd done so many great things. And I've heard this quote a lot of times at somebody's funeral. Here's what he said. He said this to Timothy. He said, I have fought the good fight. I have finished the, I want y'all to say this word, I have finished the race. I have kept the faith. You know what he's telling you guys? Don't quit. I didn't quit. Don't you quit. Don't you dare quit. You fight. You're not a quitter. You're not a quitter. And I love that. If you ask my girls that, this is where I got it from. It's a movie called The Pacifier. If you see, it's got Vin Diesel in it, and it's got that really big, tall Ray Barone guy in it, or whatever his name is. And I love this movie. And he's talking this one part in it, and he says, you know what you are? You're a quitter. And everybody knows that quitters quit. I just think it's so funny. We use it with our girls for whining, that we don't whine, because everybody knows that whiners whine. So if you ask my girls, why don't we whine? That's what they're going to say. We don't whine. And we don't quit. We don't quit. Sometimes along the way you are going to need help. That's why church is so important. That you are surrounding yourself with a group of people that love you, that can encourage you, that will pray for you, that will get down in the ditch with you and go through those struggles with you. I'm not talking about the people that cut you down, that tell you you might as well give up. You might as well quit. Quitter. You've already got enough of that from Satan. Right? He's already telling you that, oh, you're not good enough. Oh, you're too fat. Oh, you're too skinny. Oh, you can't do that. Your marriage is gone to the hell in a handbasket. There's no use. Why in the world do you want to try to live your life at school? You can't be a Christian here. You're trying to be too perfect. You're trying to be too good. You're trying to be too bad. You're trying to be whatever. And you're already getting that enough. And here's what he's saying to you this morning. He's saying that, run. Don't quit. Apostle Paul said that this is his life was getting ready to die. Whenever he wrote this, he was in prison getting ready to be killed. And he says, guys, my life's over. I'm done. But Paul was at the end of his life. And a lot of times when I look around at the world and what I'm seeing, I see a lot of young people. And here's what they're doing. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done with you. I'm done with my family. I'm done with church. I'm done with this job. I'm done. But that is the exact opposite of what he tells us. He's saying that you are a runner. So go and run. Run with everything you've got and don't quit. Because you need to get to the end of your race and you need to cross that finish line. And guys, I'm going to tell you something. You will not cross that finish line until you die. It's not now. When you die is when you cross it. Not now. So he's telling us to run and not quit. And here's the last thing you need to know. Because if we're not careful, we'll say, oh, I'm not going to quit. It will be all about the I. But we got to do something very important here. Recognize this. And this is something that we usually struggle with in our lives. And here's the fourth thing that I want you to understand about this today. It's all about Jesus. It's all about Jesus. Because if you're not careful, you go through life and thinking that you've done that. That you saved your daughter. That you saved your marriage. That you've done this and you've done that. And here's what he's saying. It's not you. You're running the race, but there's somebody inside of you who's running with you. Do you hear what Larry said in his testimony he was given? That Jesus had his back. There's even times he even carried him. Gosh, I love that. Because he has carried you where you feel like you can't even go on. Now here's what he says. In verse 2 of that Hebrews chapter 12, he says, keeping our eyes on Jesus. Keeping our eyes on Jesus, the source and perfecter of our faith. Who for the joy that lay before him endured the cross, despised the shame, and sat down at the right hand of God's throne. You want the energy to run another mile? You look to Jesus. You're going to look for the source of how you can save your marriage? You look to Jesus. Your life, you look at it, it's just a mess, and all you see is just disaster and drugs, and you see all these past just messes all throughout your life. You want to overcome that? Look to Jesus. You want encouragement to go out here and face all that you've got to face today? Look to Jesus. And I love what he says. He says the source and the perfecter. I love that. Because he'll take what you do and he'll just stamp his perfectness on it. I love that. Because in ourselves, you know what we are? We're all messes. I'm a mess. I am a mess. And you may look at me and think, oh, he's got it all together, and pastor in church, and got a beautiful wife, and 4 kids. No. I'm just as jacked up as you all are. I am. I've got issues. So, I look to Jesus. And who am I telling you all to look to? Jesus. It's all about Jesus. Whenever we take our eyes off Jesus, we're taking our eyes off the prize. When we take our eyes off the prize, we lose our hope, we lose our purpose, we lose our sense of security, we'll lose everything about us. Guys, it's about Jesus. And here's what he's saying, look to Jesus. Look to Jesus. Will you quit? I'm looking to Jesus. He's my coach. He's in my corner. He's got my back. I can do this. I can do this. So many times it's been quoted Philippians 4:13. Are you familiar with that scripture? I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I love that. You know what he's saying? It's about Jesus. It's not about you. It's about Jesus. Jesus is the source and the perfecter. Now I want to back up just a minute and go back to Larry. Very brave of him to share what he shared. And you heard him, and he vocally said 2 divorces. Now he's in love with his precious wife Tiffany, with family. It's awesome. It's awesome. Did you hear the words that he said? He didn't quit. He kept looking to Jesus. And guys, I'm going to tell you, there's times that you're going to be in so dark that you're going to look around and you're just not going to see any hope nowhere. That's why we've got to look to Jesus, guys. Sometimes you're going to look around for your family, you're not going to see them. Or you may look around for your best friend, and they're downing you instead of encouraging you. Guys, Jesus is the key. It's the key to the race. It's the key to running. It's the key to what we're doing right here. It's the key. Jesus is the key. Yesterday I was listening to Christmas music, believe it or not, and I was thinking of all this, and I thought, wow, somebody really phrased it up that said Jesus is the reason for the season. He's not just the reason for the season, guys. He's the reason for everything. In all this that you see, it's all about Jesus. You want to know who's a leader in my life? It's Jesus. You know how I'm not going to quit? I'm going to keep looking to Jesus. And that's something that you've got to tell yourself today. Nail that down. When the times get tough and I have every reason to quit, I am going to look to Jesus instead of all my faults and all my failures. Because you know what Jesus sees in you? He doesn't see your faults. He doesn't see your failures. He sees someone who's been forgiven. Bought by the precious blood of the Lamb. That He died and He overcame it. You want hope for your life? Look to Jesus. Now, what does all this boil down to? This should be all the encouragement that we need, right? We can do anything with this. Yeah, this is awesome. Now, I want to warn you just a minute. Because you may get out here today and like, oh boy, I'm ready. We're ready to run. We're ready to go out and box. We're going to get this on. It's on. I got my game on. We're ready. We can take on the world. We can save our marriage. We can save our family. I want to warn you, this is one part. There's always going to be a hater that's out there to tell you, it ain't no use. It ain't no use. You can't do that. What do you think? I had a guy tell me, I told this was 6 years ago, and I said, I felt like God's burdened my heart and dealing with my heart about starting a church that would be maybe a little bit different and that could meet anywhere and that would really be focused on reaching people for Jesus. And here's what he said. What are you going to do that for? We got churches around here that's all empty. I said, yeah, but I really feel like, and he said, listen, you see that sign at the end of the road? That's our welcome sign for people. They want to come, then they can come. And he just gave me like a black eye and discouraged me. There's always going to be haters out there to tell you that there's no hope. There's no reason. Guys, there's every reason. Don't listen to those haters. Don't listen to those lies that the devil tells you. Don't listen to those lies that people tell you. You look to Jesus and He will secure your faith. You look to Jesus, nothing else. Jesus. So I want to encourage you with this last verse. Here's what Jesus said about that. I love this because here's your final encouragement, guys. Someday you're going to cross that finish line. And here's what I long to hear. This is Matthew chapter 25, verse 23. His master said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You were faithful over a few things, I'll put you in charge of many things. Now share in your master's joy. I want to hear that so bad. When I cross that finish line, and when I get to see Jesus face to face, because we will see Him face to face, when He can look at me and say those words, you didn't quit. My prayer is that that's what you want to hear. Well done. There's no second place. There's no first place. It's only finishers with Jesus. Those people who finish. My challenge to you today is, do you want to quit? Or do you want to finish? I've resolved to give everything I've got to God. Leave all the results up to Him. Give Him everything that I've got. My family, my marriage, my finances, my life, my church, everything that I've got. and leave all the results up to Him. I'm not going to quit. My challenge to you today is, are you going to quit? Or are you going to step up and run the race that God has laid out for you? For some of you, you're going to have to lay something down. You've been carrying these burdens and carrying around these struggles, you're going to have to lay it down. And you can do that. Give him all your struggles, all your cares, everything that you're struggling with. Give it to Him. Run it through the Jesus filter. Pray. Give it to Him. Some of you need to realize that you're not alone. There's other people all around you that are struggling. I hate you to turn to your neighbors here because we all struggle. We have all been there and done that. Some of you need to nail it down. You know what? I've been battling back and forth and back and forth. And I've thrown out that divorce card too many times. Well, if you don't do what I want, I'll just divorce you. I'll just leave you. I'll just quit. You tried to quit on your marriage. You tried to quit on your kids. Or maybe you tried to quit on God or quit on church. And maybe it's time that you just take that and chuck it. Say, you know what? I am not going to quit. I'm not a quitter. I am a winner. I am fighting for Team Jesus, and I am not quitting. For some of you, you've had all your attention has been focused on your problems. Or maybe when you look at yourself in the mirror, all you see is all your issues, all your faults, all your failures. I encourage you today, stop looking back and look to Jesus. Because when He sees you, He sees somebody who is perfect. He created you. And now it's time for you to look to Him as your source and your perfecter of your life. So it all boils down to this one thing. You want to quit? Or do you want to finish? I just ask you to bow your head and close your eyes just for a minute. This is your time now. This is your time. And some of you right now, you're in that dark place that Larry was talking about earlier. You're in that dark place and it's tough. It's hard. You're looking around, you're seeing no encouragement, you're seeing very little peace, you're seeing very little help. Well, just by your presence being here today shows me that you're not ready to quit. That you're not ready to quit. But I want you to say that to yourself. We're supposed to be looking to Jesus now. This morning, would you be willing to recognize as Jesus that you're not ready to quit? There's not a single person's looking around. Every head's bowed and every eye's closed. So I want to ask you this morning, and I want to ask you to show your results to God. Would you say this morning, would you be able to say, raise your hand and say, I will not quit. I will fight and do what God has called me to do. Would you raise your hand up high to the sky? There's hands going up everywhere. I will not quit. Keep your hands raised up. Keep your hands up. I'm going to pray for you. Father God, you see these hands that are looking around right now, and they are raised to you, God, because this is all about you and your precious Son, Jesus. And we are making a vow to you, God, this morning, that we will not quit. We're going to stop looking around. We're going to lay our burdens down, and we're going to focus on you, God, and run the race that you have set before us to do. So, God, we have raised our hands today, showing you and telling you, God, in recognition to you, that we will not quit.